Welcome to the Books Between Friends podcast.
3 lifelong friends,
one shared obsession.
Books.
From epic fantasy to page-turning thrillers.
We dive into the stories we love
And the ones we just can't stop talking about.
So take a seat,
Grab a drink.
And get cozy.
And speaking of cozy, what has been making you guys feel cozy this week? So for me, hopefully no one from work is listening to this, but we just started having a conversation about how it's been so slow for me at work, and I'm getting my work done, but it's just like that time of year where people are busy, and so I don't have a lot to do at the office. So I have I've recently discovered that you can read your Kindle books on an internet browser. So I have been enjoying my books at the office through Kindle Cloud Reader.
Let's be honest, who hasn't done that?
Sometimes it's just like, what are you gonna do?
But you're at home, Ethan. You can easily access your books,
Right.
Yes, but I never do that when I'm on the clock.
Of course not.
Yeah. We believe you.
Yeah.
Totally.
Sure. Anyways, what's keeping you guys cozy?
So for me, it's been 2 different things. So the first one being that I have already taken out all my fall decoration. I don't care that it's not fall yet. Everything says hello fall. So I love a good, just pumpkin smell. That's my favorite scent. Fall is one of my favorite, seasons to really decorate for, besides Christmas, obviously, but that's a holiday. I have been absolutely loving the decorations. Anytime I come home from work, I just feel so cozy, wanting to curl up on my couch with my blankets. Just love it. That's been keeping me cozy. But I've also started a new show that I am so in love with. It makes me so happy. It makes my heart happy. It gives me so much hope. And that is Ted Lasso. Have you guys watched that?
Yes,
I
love
have
Ted
not,
Lasso.
but I keep hearing about it.
Y'all, if you guys out there listening, if you have not heard it, you have got to watch Ted Lasso. First of all, I love, what is his name? Jason, right? What's his name?
Sudeikis.
Okay. Jason Sudeikis. He is hilarious as Ted Lasso. And apparently this used to be a skit, and they took the skit and they made it into a show. So it's about an American football coach who goes to London to coach, or England to coach a soccer team. And so it's just really funny because he doesn't know what he's doing. Obviously, American football is not the same as football. So it's just been hilarious.
Oh, was he thinking he was going to be a football coach?
I don't know.
It ended up being soccer?
Yeah. And he also moved, he moved to England for a different reason, but he knew it was soccer.
Yeah.
He just loved being a coach. So he thought if I can coach American football, I can coach soccer. And so a lot of his philosophy is just very positive, and he's just a very positive person. And so he has a lot of really great motivational speeches. He has a lot of really great perspective. He really helps the team come together. And just everything he says, I feel like I'm connecting with it. I'm just yes, that makes sense. Oh my God, of course. Just loving him so much.
Be my life coach. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So anyways, those 2 things have been keeping me cozy.
Ted Lasso is great. My sister has been trying to get me to watch Ted Lasso for forever and a day. And then I finally did. And it was just as heartwarming as she kept on saying. And so I was like, all right, you recommended Ted Lasso, and I'm going to recommend Parks and Rec to you because I think she would get such a kick out of it.
She would. Yeah.
Love them. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think she would get a kick out of that. But yeah, Ted Lasso is great.
So good.
Cozy for me, I have been... Okay. So before working where I work now, I could count how many times I've been on an airplane on one hand. And now I'm traveling, not a huge amount, because I know some people travel all the time. I do not do that, but I travel more than I ever have before, where I have to get on the plane and such. And I hate the airport.
Yeah.
Fiery passion. But
Agree.
What has been keeping me cozy is, again, I'm going to give another solid shout out to just reading. So I brought my Kindle, right?
Yay!
And I got it just for that reason, right? Because I didn't want to carry a huge book on the plane with me. So, update. I have finished the tandem read.
Yay! Oh my gosh.
It took me a while, but I have finished the tandem read of
Amazing.
Tower of Dawn and Empire of Storms by Sarah J. Maas,
Oh
Oh
my
my
God.
and
gosh.
I loved it. Like,
Did it rip your heart out?
I know, I was just about to ask that.
Empire of Storms got pretty heart rippy.
Yeah.
Got pretty heart
Yeah.
rippy.
Big
Yeah.
time.
And I was like, no, okay.
We
Yeah.
are going to have to talk about this when we finish this episode because I need to know everything.
For real. Oh my
But
God.
That
just
ending.
so much
Yeah.
happens within like
Yeah.
the last
Oh my
10 to
God.
5
Yeah.
chapters on
Yep.
each book.
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
both of them are just boom, boom, boom. And
Jam-packed.
so I
Mm-hmm.
finished Empire Storms first, and then I got to like the page, and then the next page said acknowledgments. I was like, no, I don't want it to be done.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
And
So
then
good.
same thing with Tower of Dawn, even though I could tell
Mm-hmm.
Tower of Dawn was about to come to a close. But Jen, I know you do not, but after reading Tower of Dawn, I love Kale even more.
Well,
Yeah.
I told Stephanie that this second time around has actually really changed my mind on how I feel about Kale. So like I
Mm-hmm.
actually really love his story. And I think like last time I just went into it with already hate in my heart. And this time I went in, I'm being honest, like, you know, I just went into it with hate with my heart. And this time
Aw.
around, I have really just kept an open mind and I'm like, okay, let's hear Kale out. Let's see his story. Let's
Mm-hmm.
see, like, I want my mind changed. And I did. So
Yeah.
And I
He went
love
through it.
Irene.
Yeah. Oh my
oh, Irene's
gosh.
the best. Yeah.
I
Oh
love
yeah.
Irene.
Love her.
She's the
My
best.
girl. Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, what has been keeping me cozy, and I don't know about y'all, is seeing our YouTube grow.
Yeah.
Yes. Yay.
Really exciting. I feel like we were the generation of YouTube, right? We've seen
Definitely.
it since its inception. Gather round, children, as we talk about YouTube of old. But now I'm actually a part of the YouTube community. That's so weird to say, right? Like all
Yeah.
three of us. And so we're getting a lot of interaction, which is fantastic. And
I know.
we got a comment. I don't know if y'all have seen it yet, but we got a comment that was good. It was good because we do ask for feedback a lot on our channel, and we got one, and it was all about word pronunciation. And so I love it because we do talk about that on our show too. Like we don't always have the audiobook,
Yeah.
and so sometimes we do miss out on pronunciations of certain words. I think the comment made reference to Farukami and Mistborn, which is fun.
I agree. I have been loving watching our little YouTube channel grow. Every time I log on or every time I see a little YouTube, I see a new subscriber and that excites me. I know it's just one,
Yeah.
but it's so exciting. But yeah, I did have a chance to see it this morning and I remember looking at it and like, okay, fair. And that is something we do try to definitely be cautious about because we don't, we want to make sure that we're giving you guys like our best show because as you know we're loving interacting with everybody else, but there are times where you know we don't know how to pronounce it and we do try to look it up. Like there are times where we like Google it and we're trying to find clips of other people saying these names because let's be honest, like we're in the fantasy world, all these names are so hard to say.
Totally. And sometimes, like, even after hearing it said, it's just hard to say.
Yeah.
But we appreciate the comments and the feedback, and it's exciting to see people interacting with our conversation. And that's exactly
Yeah.
what we've been wanting to do this whole time. And like, shout out to building a YouTube community because, like, once upon a time, I thought I wanted to be a YouTuber, and now maybe I'm a little bit of a YouTuber. That's so cool.
Right? So,
Yeah.
yes, we appreciate you. And you're right. We will be investing more in our audiobooks.
I have seen a lot ever since our social media has been growing that a lot of people do the immersive reading where they're listening to it as they're reading it. And that is something I do want to try. So thank you for at least just reminding us that audiobooks are really out there. So I have been wanting to try that. And I think I want to try that with our next book where we're listening to it as we're reading it. And it's just a really big immersive experience. And so that would be really cool to try out too.
Hey, book friends, it's Ethan. When I think about cozy reading essentials, slippers are at the very top of the list. A while back, I got my first pair of Bombas gripper slippers, and honestly, I wasn't expecting them to feel all that different from the other brands that I tried. But here's the thing, These are next level. They keep my feet warm and toasty without ever looking frumpy, so I can curl up with a book feeling both cozy and stylish. Bombas just knows how to do comfort right. And the best part is that for every item you buy, they donate one to someone in need. Since we're affiliates with Bombas now, we've dropped our link right into our newsletter. So if you're ready to upgrade your cozy essentials, be sure to subscribe and check it out there. You can always find the link in our bios on all of our social media accounts. We are Books Between Friends Pod across all social media platforms. It's a small way to support the show while keeping your toes happy. Now, let's get back to the episode.
Awesome, you guys. We are so excited to start our discussion of Blood over Brighthaven by M.L. Wang with this episode. And I'm especially excited because I'm going to be our lore master for this book. But before we start our discussion, I'm going to kick it back over to Ethan real quick for a little spoiler warning.
I get the PSA this time. Hello, everybody. So before we get started, yes, quick spoiler warning. If you're listening to this episode, we're assuming you've read the first 6 chapters because there are going to be some major spoilers. So just have that in the back of your mind. Also, hello, we're asking for some reviews on Apple Podcast. We love the interaction like we just mentioned on our YouTube, but please, if you're enjoying this content, give us a follow, a subscribe, and be sure to review us. It helps us a great deal. So we're going to shout out one of our loyal followers here, Destiny's Book Talks. Her favorite book that we discussed was Beach Read by Emily Henry. She's constantly liking our content and joining the discussion through the comments. So we appreciate you, Destiny. Thank you so much for joining in on the convo.
Shout out, Destiny. We see you, girl. Thank you.
Yes, we love it. We love it. Keep them coming. Keep them coming.
Definitely. Okay, you guys. So since this is the first episode on a new book of ours, we always like to give our first impressions. I'll kick us off on this segment. And I'm super excited that we're doing this book. I've been wanting to read this book all year. It's been on my TBR. So I was the one that brought it up when we were deciding on books to read for September. We wanted to do something dark academia themed. And as I mentioned, I've actually seen a lot of great reviews on this book from people that I follow on Goodreads and like really trust their opinions or feel like I have similar book tastes as them. Also, this author wrote The Sword of Kaigen. Hopefully I said that right. And I know that that one is a really well-revered book. Obviously, that intrigues me more on wanting to read this book. And it's also a story about a woman breaking glass ceilings, which, like, girl power, I'm so in it and so excited about it. So, you know, like, the girl power element, the dark academia element giving me, like, Harry Potter vibes, but grown up. I was so into it. And, like, it did not disappoint. This book started with a bang, you guys. Like, from the jump in the first chapter, I'm already like, whoa, what just happened? And like, I cannot wait to see how things pan out.
Very similar here. All I could do here was literally judge a book by its cover because this was not on my radar anywhere. I had not heard of it. I had not seen it. I had maybe seen it. I'm like, oh, that cover looks a lot like Red Rising. Like maybe it's like sci-fi related, but no. So it looked once I got a closer look at the cover, it did look very dark academia. So my interest was immediately piqued. Only when I started reading did I realize the same stuff that this book was written by the same author of The Sword of Kaigen. And I know that that book is beloved in the fantasy community. So my interest was doubly piqued. So far, I have not been disappointed. I love some good political intrigue and political structures, and we get that here as well. I will say that this book does have a very detailed magic system, it seems. So that can be difficult to follow at times for me. If it gets too in the weeds, I kind of start checking out. So I think this book like really borders on that line for me, but it's still really interesting. This political infrastructure has a lot to it as well. Like it also seems very detailed. So we literally have only been exposed to Brighthaven and then just the outside world. And that's all we have so far. So there's plenty of time to really focus in on one city and make it as detailed as you want it to. Mm-hmm. And I can't wait to find out more about it.
So for me, guys, I really wasn't sure what to expect with this book. So this one has not been on my TBR, but I have been seeing it like being recommended on social media, like Book Talk, Bookstagram. And so when Stephanie brought it up, I was like, yeah, for sure. Like, let's try it out. Like, even though it's not on my TBR, like I'm loving the fact that I'm getting so many different recommendations. I mean, enough that I can't keep up, but still, like, this is why I love this podcast so much, because like we're getting recommendations from each other. Not only that, but we're also getting them from the book community. And so like I'm loving it. I love trying out new books. This is the first time around where I started DNFing, because it's like I want to try out as many books as I can. And if I'm not into it, there's no point in moving on with that book. But I love it. So chapter 1 was insane, like Stephanie mentioned. Holy crap. I actually had to go back and I reread some of the sections, because I was like, did that really just happen? I was trying to understand what was happening, because everything was so fast paced. I love that it immediately caught my attention. I already have a million questions. The magic system is intriguing. I can't wait to learn more about it. But I agree with Ethan as well. It's just so intricate. There's a lot of different pieces to it. We even had a whole discussion on the magic system trying to figure it out, because I don't fully understand it yet. So I'm hoping the more we discuss it, the more we read it, the more I'll be able to understand. It just reminded me, I don't know if you guys have read Lessons in Chemistry. Have y'all read that book?
I have not.
Very much girl power as well in an academic world, but without magic, obviously. So this one reminded me of Lessons in Chemistry, but with magic. And so
cool.
it's about a PhD student who's trying to get her doctorate in chemistry, but she's not being respected by the men around her, and she tries really hard to be successful. It's a great story. I love it.
Cool.
I'm loving the FMC, and that's usually the first character that I latch on to, obviously, because I'm either going to love you or hate you, and I love this one.
Yeah.
I just love everything she stands for. Like Stephanie said, girl power. It's so great.
Yes, I can't wait to talk about it, honestly. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm glad you guys are liking it so far.
Yes.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
No,
I'm
for sure.
It too. All right, so we're going to go through just a quick summary of the first 6 chapters before we dive into our discussion. The story starts out with Tomil, one of the last surviving Kaldane, as his people make a desperate run across a frozen lake toward the city of Tirin, the only place shielded from the Blight. He loses nearly everyone he's ever known in the crossing, including his sister and brother-in-law, and only makes it through the barrier with his young niece, Kara. So that's the end of chapter 1. And then the story shifts over to Sayana Freinen, who is on her way to take the exam to become a high mage. She is the only woman allowed to take the test this decade, and no woman has ever passed it. She perfectly executes every prompt that the archmages throw at her, except for the last one, when she overshoots her spell. But she immediately starts rewriting the spell, and while she's doing so, she is being told to stop by one of the high mages. But she disregards his order and completely nails it on her second attempt. And despite thinking she was going to be disqualified for disobeying that high mage's order, she actually passed and becomes the first ever female high mage. And then almost immediately after that, her mentor and one of the other high mages, Bingham, tells her about an urgent new project to expand the barrier around Tirin before the deep night, which is a period of 50 days with no sunlight. And they're going to need her mapping skills for this project. On her first day as a high mage, Sayana faces bullying from her other male colleagues, the other high mages. And as a joke, one of her rivals and the other mapping specialist, Cleon Renthorn, tells her to use the janitor, Tommy, as her lab assistant. But instead of letting that joke shake her, she actually flips it around on him and actually offers the position to Tommy as her assistant. And so Tommy and Sayana go out for drinks at the end of their first day to celebrate their new jobs. And at the end of that, a friendship, possibly more, starts to blossom between them. And then at the end of their night out, we realize that Tommy's actual name is Tomil from our first chapter. So that's where we're at. So now usually we'll get into our deep dive discussion, but as Ethan mentioned during his first impressions, the magic system in this one is a little bit more complicated, so we thought it would be worth it to spend a little bit of time kind of breaking down that magic system.
Yes, please. And I think this would still be helpful for even me, as we're about to go through it again. Okay. I've already read the These
Yeah, no,
chapters,
me too. Especially going into the next section because I think we're just going to get more into the story. So it
for
would
sure.
definitely be helpful
Totally.
to have a breakdown.
Okay, well, hopefully I do a good job of kind of breaking it down for you guys. But essentially, the whole magic system in this world centers around a place called the Other Realm. That's basically another dimension where all of magic exists. And then the mages source energy from it to power their spells. But not every part of the Other Realm is equally as strong. So that's where mapping comes in and Siona's specialty. She's like a cartographer of magical energy, figuring out exactly how much to pull from where in the other realm to power the spells that she's going to try to execute. And if you get it wrong, it could blow up in your face if you don't have enough energy or if you have too much. Okay. And there's also different specialties. So, for example, Sayana is a mapping specialist. She figures out areas in the other realm that have the amount of power that they need. But there's also things like mages who practice alchemy, which is way riskier because instead of pulling energy, they actually pull matter from the other realm and reshape it in this realm. And then mages write their spells on these machines called spellographs, which kind of looks like a typewriter. It's, the image that's on the cover of the book. At first, before reading the book, I thought it was just a typewriter, but it's actually a spellograph. And so that's what they use to write their spells on. And the structure of these spells kind of remind me of like a mathematical equation, or at one point, Ethan made the connection of it almost being like a coding language. So that's really what it seems to be like. And then you also have to be really precise because if you miscalculate, you can have a disaster. Again, like if you have too much energy or if you write your spell wrong, it could go wrong. So case in point, during Sayana's exam to become High Mage, she overshot the amount of energy she needed to levitate that huge cauldron, and it actually shot up into the ceiling and caused a bunch of damage in the hall. So, as I mentioned before a couple times, Sayana's specialty is mapping, which is the process of finding coordinates for the specific areas in the other realm that have enough energy for her spells. So, there's also this area called the forbidden coordinates, where you're not allowed to siphon any energy from. And there was actually a high mage named High Mage Siberian who was executed for actually siphoning energy from the forbidden coordinates. And they call him the traitor mage. And then to break down a little bit of the hierarchy of this world, so Sayana works at the University of Magics and Industry in the city of Tyrion, and she is part of the Magistry, which consists of all the mages that work at this university. So before her exam, she was a mage that worked at the university at Bingham's lab. And then after passing her exam, she became a high mage, which is like the next level up from mage. And then there are a total of 100 high mages that make up what's called the High Magistry. And then the 12 best high mages in the High Magistry make up what's called the Council. And so the Council are the ones who actually conducted the exams while the candidates were trying to become High Mage. And then the leader of the Council is what's called the Archmage Supreme. So that's kind of like a breakdown of the different levels of mage you can be. And then, so as of right now, the biggest practical use of this magic is that barrier that's around Tyrion that protects the whole city from this thing called the Blight. We don't know much about it, but it's what took out most of Tomil's family and friends when they were crossing the lake. And also it's the heart of the stakes of the story. So they're trying to expand the barrier before this thing called the Deep Night. Again, the 50 days of straight no sunlight. So that's where we're at. Hopefully this helps to break things down a little bit and make a little bit more sense of this complicated magic system.
That was so good. Teacher
Yeah.
stuff. Like that was really good.
Thank
Yeah, and I'm so glad it's here because then anytime I'm reading, I can just go back and reread what you just said.
All right, so now let's go ahead and dive into our discussion. So, to remind you guys again, we are doing what's called a 3-2-1 structure, where each of us are going to bring up 3 things that stuck out to us, 2 character moments, and then 1 theory or prediction to wrap it up. So, starting with 3 things that stuck out, I'll go ahead and start us off. So for me, the first thing that I wanted to bring up is the Blight, of course. Like, we don't really know a lot about it right now. All we know is that it causes people to essentially disintegrate. That's what was happening in that first chapter when Tom Hill and his people were trying to cross that lake. It was just this lash of light that would hit them, and then these people would just disintegrate right in front of their eyes. It was freaking scary. So anyway, the city of Tyrion has this thing called the barrier that protects it from the Blight. We don't totally understand where the Blight has come from, like what caused it. What did you guys think of the Blight?
Yeah, no, that's why I had to go back and reread chapter 1, because I was trying to figure out what was happening to the people that were running across. Well, A, I was trying to figure out why they were going to be running across this lake, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then B, like I was trying to figure out what was happening around to all the people that were running. I'm like, wait, did they just blow up, or like you said, they disintegrate, right?
Essentially, yeah.
And so all you really read about is you're running, you can't look back, you can't stop, and you're just seeing blood everywhere.
Yeah.
So I'm like,
Yeah.
what the fuck? Like, I don't really know what to think.
I know. I think the term blight is used quite often in fantasy stories. And so
Yeah.
it's interesting to see people's different takes on it.
Mm-hmm.
And this one was one that I've never really seen before.
Yeah.
So it's really interesting. And same thing here. I had a hard time following it at
Yeah.
first, but I did like the way it was kind of written. You get the sense that there's a very big sense of urgency here
Mm-hmm.
Totally.
with the setting scene, and everyone's having a conversation. They're making a game plan on how to get to the barrier right in time. And I was like, whoa, why do we need to race? Like, what's
Right.
going on here?
Yeah.
And then you start reading about what the Blight is actually doing and how
Yeah.
fast it acts. That
Yeah.
was one thing that took me by surprise. Is when you say Blight, I usually think of like this long-term disease that will, like, maybe not super long-term,
Right.
but like it will last a lot longer than a few seconds,
Yeah.
right? And
Right.
so seeing that it was described as like this light that when it hits you, you're done. Like there's
Right.
you're
There's
that's
no coming
no
back.
good. One part of the light grazed Tom Hill's
Oh, that's
niece's
right.
cheek.
Yeah.
Right.
So-
Yeah.
I'd be interested to see if anything happens because of that. But
Right.
yeah, so there was that, and nothing happened to her. So I was surprised. Like sometimes if it
Well-
touches you, period, then you'll go. Sometimes not. I don't know.
Well, it was while her
That-
dad was carrying her and it got him. And so
Yeah.
she
Right,
almost
that's
got
right.
caught up in
But
it.
we can't definitively say nothing happened to her, because the last we heard,
Yeah.
she was
True.
unconscious, and that was it. That's all we've heard of her.
Right. That's
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying.
And
yeah.
That brings me to my next point was like, in that first chapter, it was mentioned that only Tomil and Kara, his niece, made it across into the barrier.
And we get
And
a sense
then
like
we don't hear any more about Kara. Like in those later chapters, where now we know Tomil is all through those chapters,
Right.
but we haven't heard anything about Kara since then.
Yeah.
yeah. And I was just gonna say we get a sense that there was a lot of them trying to cross.
Mm-hmm.
And like at least 50
Yeah.
in my mind.
I think he
and-
said at one point in that chapter it was like 42 of them that
Okay.
started across, and
Only two of them made it.
Two. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
one that
It's
we
crazy.
know of.
Well, true.
Yeah.
True.
Did y'all, like, going back to the Blight really quick before you move on, did y'all think of Akatar the minute y'all read that? I did. Like, I was reading, I
Because
was like,
of the Blight and
Yeah.
Akatar, the
Yeah.
Blight. Yeah.
Because remember, they were trying to keep that secret from Feyre about Amarantha. So I thought
Yeah,
too,
'cause
like,
they
maybe
couldn't
they're talking
tell her about it.
Yeah. So maybe they're talking about something else here. Like, that's just code name for whatever's killing everybody. I don't know.
Now, the imagery that I got from it, have y'all ever seen the movie War of the Worlds?
Yes, I was thinking
Yes.
that too.
Yeah, where it just like, and
Yep.
then they turn to dust.
Like,
Yep.
not
it just-
blood, but dust.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yep.
Like-
So,
So we'll see.
yeah, TBD. We'll see what happens with the Blight. And then my third thing is this High Mage Siberian. Sayana didn't even want to say what exactly he did. Like, she just mentioned that he had siphoned from these forbidden coordinates, but she didn't say what exactly happened or what he used the energy from those coordinates for. She just called it dark magic.
Mm.
And I'm like, I need more.
Yeah.
That's not enough for me. And especially when things are this opaque, I'm instantly latching onto that. Tell me more. I need to know. I'm questioning this dogma because there's also a little bit of religious dogma around it, where she mentions priests and how they preach not to pull from the forbidden coordinates. This guy even got executed for it, and so I'm like, what's going on there?
Yeah.
What secrets are they trying to hide?
Right.
That's always
Yeah.
the case.
Yeah, that's where my brain went to. And I think you're right, because we've been given so much information at such an early point in time that it seems very dense, that the most intriguing information is what's going to stand out the most at this point.
Right.
And so that's definitely a point of interest that caught my attention.
I will say that I am excited that this is a standalone and that we're going to get all the answers when we are done with this book.
We should, hopefully.
Because
Knock
when
on
we read
wood.
Mistborn, like, there's still a lot of unanswered questions. And like, I started reading book 2 and started getting some things answered, but not quite enough. So anyways, I'm just excited it's a standalone.
Totally.
So my 3 things, this world in general intrigues me. Like, I want to know, is this all that's left in existence and everything else is affected by the blight? Because we're given the sense that people come to this area because of the barrier, right? They want to be safe. Right. And there's no other area that's being spoken about it like this is. So is this all that's left?
Yeah.
That's one of my big questions right here.
That's a good point.
And in that sense, it makes it seem a little bit dystopian as well.
Yeah.
Totally.
Like, is there anyone else out there, you know? So my second point is just the social injustice of it all.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the different tiers of like, it almost seems like a caste system.
Yeah.
And yet, like, you have the peasants, right, which are the refugees that make their way into this haven, and they are treated like scum. Even when Tamil and Kara make it, they're immediately greeted by guards, and they're because they're in such bad shape when they do make it, they look weak, and so they were immediately going to be executed and say, if you can't work, then you can't stay. And so Tamil learned some of their language enough to make it clear that no, I can work, and she's my daughter. He had to claim her as his daughter in order to be able to keep her. So automatically some things there. There's obviously some injustice with Sayana being the only woman that has made it to where she is. It is very confrontational in a passive aggressive way.
Very.
Totally.
And so I am loving that. And I'm also loving the fact that Sayana is perfectly imperfect. Like, she is the victim of this stuff going on, but she's also the aggressor sometimes when it comes to Tamil. And so it's interesting to see a little bit of her privilege shine through.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because like I'm finding myself like relating to both of these characters on different levels. Like Sayana because she's a woman in a man's world, and then also Tamil because of his basically immigrant status in this world. I think we can all relate to that on some level.
Oh, yeah.
And then
100%.
Also, I'm glad you mentioned that, like, even though Sayana is in a position where she's being persecuted for being a woman, she's still, you know, like, kind of on the hierarchy a level above Tamil and his position in this society. And she's even grappling with that in her inner dialogue. Like, shoot, I shouldn't say some of the things that we typically, it just rolls off our tongue about these people.
Yeah.
Because now she's relating to him on a human level. So, yeah. Great
I definitely
stuff.
saw a little bit of that towards the end on chapter 6, where she kind of seemed a little too high and mighty for Tamil. You know, she made certain comments that I'm like, come on.
Yeah.
Like, that's not fair.
Well, and it's... And we can talk about it more because she is one of my characters that I mentioned in my 2. But yeah, I'll save it. But yeah, I love her complexity. I love
Yeah.
the complexity of her. And then my third point is Sayana's, I can't remember his name, but Sayana's mentor.
Brigham?
Brigham?
Is it Brigham? Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right, Brigham.
Figure so. Yeah.
I'm not getting great vibes.
Okay.
So he immediately stuck out to me. And so I'm just going to let that sit because he's also my prediction. So,
Okay.
but yeah, he stuck out to me for the wrong reasons.
That's interesting.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's very interesting because I have a way different perspective about him than you do. But that gets brought up in my character moments, so I'll save my comments for then.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. All right, so my three things. Thankfully, one of them has already been explained to me, which was the spellograph. So whenever Sayana was taking her exam and they were talking about the spellograph, and then later when she is trying to teach Tamil the basics, she was explaining the spellograph a little bit. So I'll just tell you what my first take on it was. Now that it's been explained, I won't go too much into it. But in my head, before Ethan mentioned the whole coding thing, I was thinking more like physics and chemistry. That's what was going on in my head.
Sure. Yeah.
So I was thinking about physics formulas and having to input those into the spellograph, and the machine taking the formulas and commanding and making it happen, which just sounds like coding. But that's not what I was thinking at all. So I'm really interested to see how else that plays out, because you can't always carry around the spellograph whenever you're trying to create spells, right? It's like, wait, hold on, let me grab my spellograph. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm sure it'll come up more, but like right before her exam, we didn't mention this, but she was with her cousin, and she thought that the high mages would carry around these staffs that I guess they're depicted carrying around a lot in imagery about them. But Sayana kind of mentioned that there's different conduits that you can use so that you don't have to carry around a spellograph all the time. So hopefully we'll get a little bit more of that later on about these conduits that they use.
Yeah, because I'm definitely interested to see like how that magic is going to transfer from a spellograph into like a conduit, right? So that was my one thing. So thank you, Steph, for explaining that. And then the other thing was Sayana's entrance exam to become a high mage. So I didn't know. I mean, I kind of figured one of us was going to bring it up, right? Because like that was such a big moment. And we've already talked about it, but only one woman is allowed to take this exam every 10 years. Like, what the fuck? If you told me I couldn't take an exam to get into a university or whatever until every 10 years, you're already setting up women for failure.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because you're setting up.
And they only allow one woman every 10 years. It's not like all women who want to or are qualified can do this every 10 years. They only consider one.
That implies fear.
Yeah, exactly. You're gonna have all these people turn away because it's like, I can't be the one. I can't be the one who actually makes it. There's no way. And so, of course, that discourages people from even thinking about applying.
Yeah,
and so,
psychological thing.
Yeah, like it pissed me off. What the fuck? So as Sayana was on the train heading to the University of Magics for her exam, I just found myself relating to her inner dialogue that she was having. And so she said, it wasn't that women never reached Sayana's level of study. It just wasn't common. And of the few women who did make it to a graduate degree in magic, most donned green robes and went into teaching. Why pursue research after all when it's the highest levels were inaccessible to you? Better for a lady mage to employ her talents, training the next generation of great male innovators. And I was just like, I just related to that passion. I related to her pursuit and her consistent thirst for knowledge. Like that's how I am. Like, you know, I'm
I found myself thinking about you in her experience because you're going through the process of getting your PhD, which is like very rare, not only for women, but like women of Hispanic origin, you know? So I just kept thinking, I know this is what Jen faces every day.
Yeah. And when I was reading about how hard it was for women to do that, I looked up the statistics behind Hispanic women who have doctorate degrees, and it's only about 1% to 2%, y'all.
Crazy.
1% to 2% like of Hispanic women have a doctorate degree. So yeah. And like, not only do I want to pursue teaching, which is something that she was talking about how most people do, I want to pursue the research path as well. And,
Right.
but it is hard. Like it's hard to become a researcher. It's not an easy task.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, I just found myself really relating to her and just really pulled in by that story and like just
Right.
rooting her on already because I'm like, that is just, I love it. Like, I love it. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay. My third thing, I don't understand who Tommy is, right? Like I know he was from chapter 1, but they mentioned two
Yeah.
different kinds of people. They mentioned the Kaldane and then they mentioned the Quen. And so
Mm-hmm.
I was, I guess, just questioning that. Like I'm wondering, is there a difference? Is that on purpose or is that just like
So
the slaves' names or whatever? I don't know.
so
Because
the way I interpreted it is that like there are different almost like tribes that live outside of Tyrion, and they seem to be nomadic tribes.
okay.
Yes, that's the way I was picking up on it too.
As a whole, those people are known as Quen.
Okay.
And then Tamil's specific tribe are known as the Kaldone
Okay.
or Kaldane. Yeah.
Okay. That I'm glad you explained that because like at the end of chapter 1 it says like the Caldone still lived, right? And so I'm like,
Right.
okay, those are Tom's people. He's like the last of them, whatever.
Mhm.
And then at the end
Yeah.
of chapter 6 it says Quen who can't work a job, whatever the job, don't get to live. And so,
Mhm.
Sayana found that ridiculous, which is that comment that I was telling you that I thought
Mhm.
she didn't have a right to say. But they were
Yeah.
getting ready to kill them both, like Ethan mentioned. And so I was just
Yeah.
wondering if they were two different people. But that makes sense. Like
Mm.
the Quinn in general are just people who are
Yeah.
not from there.
Yeah. It's like saying the
Right.
difference between everyone as Americans versus Texans.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So in that moment, I know exactly what you're talking about. It sounded like she was being, I don't know, privileged.
Yeah.
But unknowingly so, I don't think she realizes that the truth behind that comment that he made, that they truly cannot survive if they don't work.
Right.
And it's just a consequence of her own upbringing.
And
She
it
doesn't
could
realize the
be
stakes
it
for
could
his
be
people.
too that she's just been so focused on taking this one exam, so focused on being
Yeah.
prepared for it, that she really hasn't
Totally.
paid attention to the world. I mean, that's kind of how I am. You guys talk about how I live under a rock.
Yeah.
That's exactly why.
No.
Because I'm always
And
so
she
focused.
also brings it up is that like she doesn't even know the names of her neighbors who
Right.
like,
Right.
seemed to be invested in her story and excited
Right.
about her achievements. And like on her way to her first day of work, a few of them come up to her and congratulate her, and she's like, "What's your name?"
Who are you?
She's totally like checked out.
Yeah, yeah. So it kind of reminded me a little bit of me because I do that. I'm really honed in on like achieving my goals, and
Right.
I don't know what's going on around the world. I do know
Yeah.
what's going on in my family and friends' lives, so that there's that. But I don't know who my neighbors are either.
No, yeah, that's totally fair. And like, I mean, not that it's an excuse for her, obviously, but it's just like it happens to the best of us, Like we
Right,
have
yeah.
blinders for experiences that are not our own. Okay, so that brings us into our two character moments. For me, my first one that I wanted to bring up came up in chapter 3, and this was after Brigham told Sayana that she had passed her exam, and so exciting.
Yay.
And he said to her, "Know your rights, know your spells, and press past the detractors, or through them if you must. It's a skill you'll need over and over again in the High Magistry." And I just really loved this moment. So I know, Ethan, you brought up that maybe you're not feeling him so much, but I like this moment just really warms my heart.
Yeah,
Women who get to break glass ceilings and, break barriers cannot do it without the support of people who are already in those positions that they're trying to achieve. So
exactly.
I love this moment, and right now I love Bingham. But as you guys know, my opinions on people are
Right.
always subject to change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think very positively of him as well. And, I'll talk about it whenever we get to my character moments. But I
Okay.
agree. I love what he said to her. And it was after she was hiding in the bathroom because she thought she failed.
I know.
And so that just really brought a light out of her. She was just so excited. She was so happy. And he was pretty much like, don't take anybody's shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't deny him that he's very kind to her. Like he is very kind.
Yeah.
I just don't necessarily trust his intentions.
Okay.
Okay,
Fair.
fair.
And then my second moment came up in chapter 5. This is Sayana and Tamil when they're talking about, she's teaching him about spell work. And then he asks her about, so part of the spells that they write on the spellograph, sometimes they have to name an object that they're trying to, create a spell for, or like some kind of action that they're trying to do, like push a teacup in the situation we're talking about. And then the mages can call it whatever they want to call it. And so Tamil kind of makes the remark that like that's a lot of power for someone to have to name it whatever you want, to
Yeah.
give name to things. And that's a really deep thought. And then he says, I guess mages will do whatever they do. And then she claps back, not really necessarily at him, but just saying, no, that's not the way we should think about things. She says that boys will be boys, that men and mages of Tyrion will do what they do, and the lot of everyone else is to accept it. It doesn't have to be that way. So I love that she has that mentality also, and that's the kind of mentality that would have gotten her to the position she's at.
Exactly.
No, don't just accept the status quo. Don't just accept that people are going to be shitty because that's what they do.
Right.
Call them out for that,
Yeah.
So this just really like pumped me up. I was like, yes, go girl. Love that mentality.
But you're right. Like you have to have that mentality to get to the places that she's getting to, right? Because if she's cowering every time they say something to her, or if she tries to hide every time she feels afraid or doesn't want to face confrontation, then she's never going to get anywhere.
Totally.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's actually the goal of like only allowing one woman every decade.
Right.
And like bullying her, the only woman in the high magistry,
Right.
So don't take it. Call them out.
Okay. So Sayana is one of mine as well.
Yay.
And I love her character. She is so strong, but also I need her to pull her head out of her own ass just a little bit.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I do
That's fair.
love her because she is a victim of the injustices, like I said earlier. Like she's a victim of all of these, but she's also interacting unjustly, especially towards Tamil. And we can see that in their interactions. Like he'll say something and she's like, "Ugh, what are you talking about? That's so silly." And he's like, "No, but like, oh, you don't get it. Like this actually happens to
Yeah.
us and you
Right.
don't know." Like, so that brings me to the idea that yes, this government is flawed, but it's also corrupt because they're intentionally not telling their citizens the whole story
Mm-hmm.
about what's going on. Because she was not aware that there were execution or that there were deaths of
Right.
of his people, like in the slums where he
Mm-hmm.
lives, when an experiment had gone wrong at the labs
Right.
and it caused the
Right.
deaths of these people. She didn't know about it. She was like, "What are you talking about, deaths? There weren't any deaths reported."
Right.
He's like, "Oh, you're right,
Yeah.
of course." And then he just stops talking
Mhm.
because he's starting to take note that she's not aware.
Yeah.
So she's more like, I'm going to follow, I'm going to trust what I can read and learn, right? Like she's all about the knowledge. She's all about what she can see in front of her. She questions how things should be done, but I feel like she doesn't question enough
Right.
to see what's really happening.
It's because
Yeah.
she's focused on what it means for her right now. And I'm not saying
Right.
that she's selfish. I'm just saying that she's been conditioned to do that.
Right.
Because
Yeah.
there's no pathway for women on where she wants to go.
Right.
And so she's been, stuck in such a zone. Her head is in the sand because she's trying
Right.
to do a very specific thing.
Right.
And so when you do that, your blinders are automatically going to go up and already setting her back somewhat and getting the full story on things.
True.
But
Yeah.
also she doesn't want to see it on some level because it doesn't apply to her.
And I hope this relationship with Tamil like opens her eyes to
Yes,
this,
I'm very excited to see that.
They seem to be getting along, and there is an element of the powers that be are hiding the real experience of these people, the Quen in Tyrion. So all she hears when she goes to her church, all she hears when she listens to the news or reads about it is whatever the powers that be decide to say. And she doesn't question that because, to your point, Ethan, she's just focused on herself and
Yeah.
her achievements or what she's trying to achieve. So now, hopefully, this relationship with Tomil will show her the reality of what he's facing in
Yeah.
his experience.
And so, talking about Tomil, he's the
Mhm.
my second person. And I wrote in my notes, I was like, man, if you want someone, just a good guy that you
Yes.
want to talk to and get a drink with, you're gonna call Tomil.
Yeah.
Like, he is just a good, solid guy. You could tell that I think there's a little bit of fire in there, right? Like, he had
Mhm.
enough to survive to get he and his niece to safety.
Mhm.
And now he could really be in a position to where he can start making people aware of what's really going on because he has the ear of Sayana now.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And so, what else could be possible there? I'm excited to
Yeah.
see their relationship blossom.
Yeah, this has like opened the door for him also into like one of the highest levels of the society. So, I hope that that does result in some, bigger overall change and like, not just for women, but also for his people.
Yeah.
So joke on the other guys for putting them together.
I know. How fortuitous.
Exactly. Yeah, it's gonna come back and bite them in the ass, hopefully.
Good. All right, so for my two, I did not want to choose Sayana only because I had already gave her a lot of praise when it came to her exam. And so I didn't want to touch on that again, but I do want to touch on Brigham, which is Sayana's mentor. So here's what I think
Yeah.
about him. So I feel like good mentors are just really hard to come by, at least genuine ones, right? I cannot tell you how many times I myself have been run into adults that are actively discouraging me to pursue more or who don't take an interest in helping, even when it is their whole job to do that, right? So that's why I've just always made it my own personal mission to try and help others as a teacher. I know I mentor new teachers and student teachers. As an administrator, I love growing teachers. And even now, as a PhD student, I'm still taking on the role of mentoring pre-service teachers. So I
Mhm.
just I'm such a firm believer that people need someone who believe in them. And I love that Sayana
Yeah.
has that with Brigham, at least
Yep.
so far, right? Because we're talking about the first
Yeah.
6 chapters here. So
Yeah.
love him, love that role that he's playing in her life and the fire that he's putting out under her too. And not
Mhm.
and not coddling her either. Like,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know?
Yeah.
He's like really coaching her through her career. Like
Right.
even beyond making it to this level, the fight is not over. She's still
Right.
gonna have to like advocate for herself and like make sure to stand up for her own rights because nobody else will in some situations. Like
Yeah.
obviously he's in her corner, but she's gonna have to advocate for herself too.
Exactly. And
Right.
he doesn't sugarcoat anything either.
Yeah. Like, even you're right, because even on her first day, it had been a rough one, right? Like,
Yeah.
she got the brunt
Yeah.
of a lot of ridicule
Mm-hmm.
by the other men on her lab floor. And then the next morning, Brigham comes in and he's like, I'm sorry, moving on.
Yeah.
And so it was very quick, he's like,
Yeah.
I'm going to acknowledge it. Yes, you got where the goal was, but now, like, come on, we
Yeah.
need to move on.
Eyes on the prize.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's on the prize here. Yeah.
So, as we were talking, though, I did think about what you were saying about his real motives behind maybe like being that mentor to her. And so,
Mhm.
the fact that immediately as she got accepted, he was like, "Okay, now let's put into action. I need you on this project." I think
Mhm.
that you're right, Ethan. There is going to be a reason why he did do all that for her. That he's probably going to be pushing her towards his own agenda because he's the top guy for something, right? He
So
oversees something.
he's their like top person creating textiles for Tyrion.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Mhm.
So I think that he's just trying to probably push his own agenda on something. I'm not getting a negative vibe of it, but I can see where you touched onto that, Ethan, because I did
Mhm.
notice the minute she was in, he was like, "All right, now we're gonna work on this. I'm gonna put you on this project. I need you to do this," pretty much, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. But so I'm really excited to see more about that, to see what happens
Mhm.
between Brigham and Sayana. And then the second one, I know we already touched on him, which is Tommy, aka Tommel. But the moment that I want to bring out was where he stepped in and took Sayana out for a drink. I mean,
Yeah,
come
I love that
on,
moment.
y'all. Sayana achieved literally the unachievable and became the first woman ever to become a high mage. Why are we
Right.
not popping bottles of champagne, right?
Right,
I
right.
know the minute I get my PhD, there's going to be bottles all up in here popping, spraying. We're going to be
Yeah,
drinking. We're drinking to
absolutely.
that achievement. So I loved
Yeah.
him for taking her out and celebrating with her. So that
Yeah.
was my
And it
favorite.
was right after her other male colleagues took the other first timer mage out
Yeah.
and like pointedly, and I think they wanted her to hear that she was not
To hear it.
invited for
Of
these
course.
drinks. So
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
obviously some more bullying here at the end of the day. So
Yeah. You know what
props to
vibes it was
Thomas.
it
Yeah.
was giving? It was very Jack Dawson and Rose.
Ooh,
Oh
Like
yeah.
you
Yeah,
want to
yeah,
go
yeah,
to a
yeah.
real party? Like, come on.
I
Yeah.
love
Forget their
that.
party.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because they do go to one of the Quinn's bars. They don't go to like the high
Exactly.
fancy
Yeah.
one that all the mages go to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. And
I
of
did love
course,
that.
you know, just ending this, I sense a romance happening.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
There's some
Yeah.
tension there. There's some tension.
Sayana's kind of
Love
feeling
it.
him.
Yeah. Why wouldn't you be feeling
Yeah.
him?
Literally feeling him.
Literally, yeah. When she's like a little bit buzzed, she's like all over him.
That's
All over
right.
him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love
It
it.
was
Love it.
funny. Okay, so that wraps up our section on the two character moments. So we're gonna go ahead and move on to our one theory or prediction. For my prediction or theory, I predict that we're gonna find out later that High Mage Sabernan wasn't actually a traitor, or at least not the traitor that he's been made out to be for siphoning from these forbidden coordinates. As I mentioned before, anytime there's something that's against the rules or a no-no, I'm just like, but why though? And I need to
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
And like, what are we hiding? You know? And like, why is he the only high mage that has ever been executed? Yeah, I'm definitely keeping an eye on that.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. That's a good one. Sayana's mentor. I
Uh-huh.
am a little wary of. He is very kind. He is very perfect. And
Mm.
he's a little too perfect for
Yeah.
me that I'm a little suspicious because it is very obvious that she is not welcome, right? They don't want her
Yeah.
there.
Mhm.
What would give him a political up to be her mentor? I don't get it, right? Like, I don't see how it benefits him in a way. He could just be that altruistic. And if he is, like, that's awesome. He's very Mr. Feeney.
Yeah.
He gets the Mr. Feeney award. But I'm a little suspicious here. I think there is probably a
Fair.
different reason because it's mentioned that the other guy, Renthorn or something like that,
Mhm.
was his protege first.
Mhm.
Now he is
Yeah.
where he is, and now she's his
Mhm.
protege. And so I'm thinking maybe something failed with him, that he had some kind of experiment going on behind the scenes. It didn't
Mhm.
work with Renthorn, but now he's trying it with Sayana
Mm.
and see where he gets there. Because the other guy's a mapping specialist too.
Mhm.
Right. Yeah.
So it's all a little sus. So I think he's a suspicious figure here, and that's my prediction or my
What
theory.
Interesting.
if he wanted to mentor this woman who's going to defy all odds, right? Because he wants to get into the forbidden coordinates, and he knows that somebody like
Oh, and
Sayana
like
who wants to
pin
prove
it on her.
herself, yeah, or somebody like
Yeah.
Sayana who wants to prove herself will do that because she, you know, she wants to be better than these other guys, and so she's going to do that.
Hmm.
Or he could be pinning
Hmm.
it on her. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I was like, maybe because there's this really idea against women, right? Like maybe
Yeah.
there's something that only women can do when it comes to magic. And men don't
Oh.
want that to be out, and he's lifting her up to this position to where she could easily fail and see no good comes from women having them here. So
Oh, like make an example of her.
uh-huh.
Oh,
And so like
Oof,
that's where my
okay.
mind goes. Conspiracy theories everywhere.
Yeah.
I still think he's a good guy, but whatever.
Yeah.
He
I
could he
guess
very
we'll
well
see.
could be, and then it's just a prediction.
Hey,
Yeah.
I was wrong about
Yeah.
Kelsier, so here we go. All right, so for me, my theory brain isn't quite firing up just yet. So I think I'm going to share a hope that I have for later.
I
And
like
that
that.
is that Sayana's proposal beats out Renthorn. Because screw him, right? Like, fuck you.
For
So
real.
I really want hers to win out because apparently they're both going to be putting a proposal for the expansion of the barrier, right?
Hmm.
So I hope hers wins. But as I was thinking about my non-theory, I was thinking maybe they'll be forced to work together on this big project, and that's going to cause a
Mm,
big mess when it comes to the expansion of the barrier. So I think that
interesting.
maybe they'll be forced because like they both have such good proposals because it is mentioned that he's really good at his job. And so
Yeah,
it's
and
one of
even
those
she acknowledges he's good at what he does.
exactly.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Interesting.
All right. All right, book friends. That was the end of our deep dive on chapters 1 through 6 of Blood Over Bright Haven by Emma Wang. Thank you for joining us and interacting with us in our socials. We are loving the comments we're getting, so please keep on. We love the interaction. Next week, we will discuss chapters 7 through 12. Be sure to interact with us on social media. We are Books Between Friends Pod on all platforms. Be on the lookout for our podcast clips and join us in discussion through our comments. Thank you.
So, on our next episode, the real intrigue is only beginning. Next week, we'll be covering chapters 7 through 12, where alliances start to shift, secrets simmer just beneath the surface, and the cost of power becomes harder to ignore. We'll be unpacking all the twists, character moments, and clues that keep Bright Haven's polished facade from hiding the darkness underneath. So, grab your copy, read along, and get ready to question everything you thought you knew, because the deeper we go, the more dangerous it gets.